We are beginning our live stream.
Good evening. I call this meeting of the Township High School District 211 Board of Education to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bradley,
Here.
Ms. Cavill,
Here.
Mr. Kramer, Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Mr. McGowan,
Here.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Here.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Here. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, that will take us to the next item, and it's an action item to enter closed session. The recommended action is that the board enter closed session to discuss minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, probable or imminent litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the public body, matter pertaining to an individual student, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Good evening. The recommended action is that the Board of Education return to open session. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill, Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. And before we begin our regular agenda, I would like to take a moment of silence. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the senseless and horrible school shootings that occurred in Nashville in March, taking the lives of 3 young students and 3 educators. Our thoughts are with all those affected by this tragedy. I would now ask for a moment of silence to honor the lives that were lost far too early. Thank you. There are no words that can undo what has occurred in schools across the country. So we must instead continue to a commitment to our students and staff connected and safe in our schools, to keep them connected and safe. I encourage all of you to talk with your families about feeling safe or find someone to talk with if needed. Our schools have tremendous support resources for those needing help. We have a collaborative commitment to maintaining a safe, secure, and effective learning environment for our students and our staff. We're focused on working together. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Small to talk a little bit about our school safety.
The safety of our student and staff remains a top priority in our district. District 211 continues to work with local police departments and independent safety consultants to review new school safety practices and technologies. Though all safety plans are not detailed in public in order not to undermine the effectiveness of the safety measure, there are key security features in our building that continue to be in place and consistently evaluated by both the police and our independent audits. These include perimeter door control, communication systems, including PA systems, blue light lockdown stations, school police officers present in the school, threat assessment protocols, including local police, safety concern access, limiter visit entry, ID scanning, and camera system upgrades. Yet prevention is the most important component of safety, and it starts with a shared responsibility from the entire community. Social media continues to play a consistent role in security issues, and it is vital that parents, students, and community members are in tune to unusual social media posts, seeing or hearing statements out of the ordinary, and reporting them to either the school or local law enforcement. These situations are extensively and thoroughly investigated in partnership with our local police departments. School administration always informs and partners with law enforcement whenever a threat or safety concern arises or a student demonstrates a concerning behavior. Research in school safety illustrates the need for supportive learning environments and communities where everyone feels supported, valued, and connected. Our schools work diligently to connect with students throughout the school day and after school through activities and athletics. We continue to expand our social emotional learning while understanding the unique challenges each student brings to school every day. Our intervention teams, including administrators, counselors, psychologists, and social workers, act quickly to respond, intervene, and connect families with additional community supports. We continue our diligent efforts on keeping our students and staff safe. The vital partnership between students, staff, parents, police, and the local community are critical for a truly preventive measurement system. I thank our 3 police departments for their open partnership with our schools. Each of our staff members who go out of their way to connect with our students during the school day and spend their after-school hours as coaches and sponsors and tutors. Parents who stay connected with their children and talk about communicating safety concerns directly to an adult and set expectations for social media and peer engagement. We all want a great high school experience for our students as they transition into their post-high school plans, and it takes everyone who is engaged in their lives to help them feel supported, valued, and connected, and therefore ready for success and their post-high school pathway.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Small. With that, we're going to look at our recognition of our state award winners. Dr. Small?
Will Mr. Eric Winkowski, our Director of Athletics and Activities, please come forward so we can honor some of our students tonight.
Board of Education and Dr. Small, thank you for taking some time to honor some talented students from our IHSA State Debate Tournament and our IHSA State Boys Swimming Tournament. Also here tonight to support and honor their students are Palatine Assistant Principal Kim Glazer, Fremd High School Principal Mark Langer, and Assistant Principal Mandy Hughes, Conant Principal Julie Novak, and Athletic Director John Kane, Schaumburg Principal Brian Harlan, and Assistant Principal Rusty Cummings, and Hoffman Estates Principal Mike Alter and Assistant Principal Tom Mocon. Students, as your coach introduces you, please step forward to the podium, receive your award. Additionally, any parents or family members that are here, when we present your student, please stand to be recognized when they're introduced. All right, so we get started with Palatine High School Debate. Samantha Dolan. Samantha Dolan is in her 22nd year of teaching in District 211 and her 8th year teaching in the Palatine High School Science Department. Sam has been coaching debate for 2 years, and this was her first year as head debate coach. Sam.
Thank you. I would first like to recognize my assistant coaches, Erica Varela and Leslie Schock. Leslie couldn't be here tonight due to a lacrosse match, but I'd also like to publicly recognize her for being voted by the Illinois debate community as the Assistant Debate Coach of the Year. I'm pleased to recognize senior Ishika Mishra for her quarterfinalist finish at the IHSA State Debate Tournament. Ishika is the daughter of Sanush and Kanchan Mishra. In addition to being captain of our debate team, Ishika is the captain of the girls' tennis team, editor of the school newspaper, president of our National Honor Society. She was named a Colsey Scholar this year, and Ishika was also voted by the senior class to be our student speaker at graduation this spring. Ishika has been active in local elections and plans to pursue her interest in politics next fall when she attends Case Western University, where she'll major in data science with a minor in public policy. Ladies and gentlemen, Ishika Mishra.
All right. Miss Anna Ignowitz has worked at Fremd High School for the past 6 years as an English learning teacher. In addition to being the head debate coach, Anna is also the Model UN sponsor at Fremd High School. Anna?
Thank you. I want to take the opportunity to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Small for their continued support of our debate program. I would also like to thank the assistant coaches, Dorothy Roback, Madeline Maslon, and Sunny Patel, for all the hours they put into helping our students prepare for debate tournaments. To the debate parents, I also want to thank you for helping our program through judging at tournaments, to dropping off the students way before sunrise in the morning, to picking them up around midnight after the state tournament. It takes a village to run debate, especially in District 200, so thank you. This year, I will especially miss our varsity team, which includes all of the semifinalists, quarterfinalists, and state champions I have the honor to introduce tonight. I am particularly proud of their leadership with our JV and novice team. They leave a huge legacy and big shoes to fill. So I would like to first honor Selena Jang and her parents, Lan and Molly Jang, who won first place in public forum debate. I would also like to honor Sophia Zhao with her parents, Pauline Shen and Tim Zhao, who is also Selena's partner and first place in public forum debate. I would also like to honor Aditya Vadiatham and his parents Sutapa and Partha, Aditya Vadiatham and his parents for semifinalist in public forum debate. Samarth Chitkopetkar for semifinalist in public forum debate with his parents Sucheta and Nitin. And finally, Sanjana Kashyap, quarterfinalist in in Lincoln Douglas debate, followed by her parents Sutapa and Partha Kashyap. Thank you.
Okay, sticking with Fremd High School, we'll move on to their Student Congress coach. Rachel Harris-Krolwich works for a local nonprofit that works to empower people with intellectual and development disabilities. In her free time, Rachel has been a coach at Fremd High School Student Congress team since 2015, and this is her second year as the head coach. Rachel.
Hello. I first want to recognize my amazing assistant coach, Selena Chong. Selena is incredible, and without her contributions, we just couldn't be what we are today. So thank you so much, Selena. On behalf of Fremd Student Congress coaches, we'd like to thank the board and Dr. Small for supporting debate education for the students of D211 and for this opportunity here tonight. The skills debate teaches research, public speaking, self-advocacy, confidence, and the ability to see issues from multiple perspectives provide our students with the skills they need to be successful, not just in college, but far beyond. We'd also like to thank all of the parents without whom this program simply could not function for all of the reasons Anna just described. Thank you so very much for your help. I also, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank both Selena and our other assistant coach, Dr. Brett Oman, who couldn't be here tonight. This team has grown so much as a result of their dedication. I'd like to thank Anna Ignatovich and Mandy Hughes for all of their support throughout the season, as well as all of the 211 coaches who've helped make this debate community something truly special. We are very proud of our Student Congress debaters. Throughout this season, these students and their teammates have worked hard to research topics as varied as subsidies on farming practices, to rent control, to organized crime in El Salvador. And that was just the prelim rounds of IHSA. We could not be more proud of this intelligent, resilient, caring, and bright group. All of the students of Fremd's Congress debate program make coaching a joy and a privilege, and I am so proud of all of them. So tonight, I'd like to introduce to you Ria Mukherjee, who is joined tonight by her parents, Biswajit Mukherjee and Sanchita Sakar. She was third place overall at IHSA and first place Congress speaker and captain of the All-State team, which is a program best for Fremd. I'd like to introduce Ishan Srivastava, joined by his parents Sharad Kumar and Priya Sinha, sixth place overall winner at IHSA this year. I'd like to introduce to you Kay Scheidel, who is joined by her parents Joseph and Erica Scheidel. She's a finalist, and she was second place Congress speaker on the All-State team. And finally, I'd like to introduce to you Omkar Marathe, who is joined by his parents Vidisha and Amrit Marathe. He's a finalist and seventh place speaker on the All-State team. Thank you so much.
Okay, and on to Schaumburg High School. Carl Schwartz is in his 17th year as a special education teacher assistant and debate coach at Schaumburg High School. He's been involved with the debate program since 2007, and this is his 7th year as the head coach. Carl.
Thank you to Dr. Small and the board for recognizing and supporting our debaters. I first want to recognize our assistant coach, Caitlin Clark Johnson, Spanish teacher at Schaumburg. Her expertise, dedication, and passion for debate are essential to our students' well-being and success. Thank you very much. I'm here to present Schaumburg's highest achieving debaters. The first is sophomore Alandi Pato, accompanied by her parents Manisha and Abhijit and her brother Malhar. Alandi has emerged as a leader on our team. Her preparation process for state was exemplary, and it's really the new model for her teammates whose goal is to medal at state. For state, our team had to research 18 different topics, and Alandi really took charge of this project. She led the brainstorming practices, she evaluated our evidence, she found opportunities for us to make deeper and more unique arguments. And her hard work paid off when she finished in ninth place out of 132 debaters at the state tournament last month. I also have the honor to reintroduce Clark Easley, joined tonight by his parents Kimberly and Gregory and brother Camden. You might remember him from 2021 when he finished second in Lincoln Douglas debate as a freshman, and from last year when he finished in first. And I'm happy to report that Clark defended his title by finishing first in Lincoln Douglas debate again in 2023. Lincoln Douglas only uses one topic for the entire tournament. This year it was whether Supreme Court justices should have term limits. And Clark's big challenge was that as a defending champion, he really had a target on his back. His competition found out what he was arguing during the tournament and planned specific responses to him, making his debates increasingly difficult and forcing him to evolve and improve for each round. In the final knockout round, he had only 4 minutes of preparation time to come up with winning responses to a new and unexpected strategy by his opponent. And Clark displayed great poise and creativity under intense competitive pressure, and his consistent excellence through all 3 years so far of debate has earned him a great deal of respect from his coaches, teammates, and the Illinois debate community. So congratulations to Alandi Clark and all the D211 debaters and coaches, and thank you for your time tonight.
All right, now on to our final debate team that we're honoring tonight. Coach Matthew Dowd. Matthew Dowd is in his 20th year of teaching in the Social Studies Department at Hoffman Estates High School, and this is Matthew's 9th year as the Student Congress debate coach. Matt?
Thank you. I'd like to first recognize my assistant coach, Renee Johansson. She's been my desk partner for 20 years, and we've been coaching debate for the last 8 years together. I couldn't do what I do without her. I'd also like to thank Mr. Alter and Mr. Mokan, who have given us tons of support, and we really would not be as successful without them as well. So thank you very much. The first person I'd like to talk about is Nithya Mahesh. Come on down, Nithya. As you can see, she literally ran from her badminton tournament, which she won both matches. She's a junior. She not only was IHSA 12th place, but she was also ICDA top 10, which is out of 600 debaters. So, and as a junior, we're looking forward to her coming back. And her parents, we have Mr. and Ms. Mahesh. Thank you. And then the next person, I know several of you up here recognize him since he's gotten you musical tickets at Hoffman Estates High School, is Chitesh Saravanan. We are going to miss Chitesh as he's going to graduate this year as a senior. However, in his last 4 years, not only have I got to work with him as a musical executive producer, but also through debate for 4 years. And I would like to point out that any debater who's a junior or older did debate through Zoom. And that they fought through debating through Zoom is a testament to their character. So I'm very impressed there. He got top 10, so that's ICDA. All-state. He is 5th in state at IHSA. He is going to use his talents that we did in Student Congress because he's going to be studying public policy and writing for legislators. He's already in contact with several local legislators to see if he can be working in their offices. So you'll be seeing a lot of him in the future, Chitesh Saravanan. And his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Saravanan.
All right. Now time to dive into our last group. Brian Drenth is the World Language Department Chair at Conan High School and is in his 23rd year of teaching Spanish in District 211. For the last 22 years, Brian has served as both the head boys and girls swimming coach at Conan High School. Brian.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Small, Mr. Winkowski for the invitation to introduce and celebrate a phenomenal athlete in person. Here tonight with his parents, Brian and Leanne, is Bryce Loger. Bryce was one of our co-captains this season. He had just an incredible swim season. In individual events, he was undefeated, 20-0 until our conference meet when he finished second, and it was by 27 hundredths of a second. At the conference meet, he also finished first in the 100 free and was part of our third place 200 free relay. At the IHSA sectional meet, he was part of our third place 200 medley relay that missed the state cup by 9 hundredths of a second. And he had his fastest time of the season in that one. He finished second in the 50 free, second in the 100 backstroke, and anchored our fifth place 400 free relay. He qualified for the IHSA state meet in the 50 free and the 100 backstroke. The next week, at the prelims at the IHSA state meet, he qualified for finals in both of the events on Friday, came back on Saturday to state finals, and he finished 8th in the 50 free and 12th in the 100 backstroke. This season, Bryce broke the Conant pool record in the 100 backstroke and the Conant varsity record in the 100 backstroke and the 50 freestyle. In addition to being a tremendous swimmer, he's also a great person. He's focused on his academics, and he's also a great baseball player. He actually was featured, if you guys read the Daily Herald a few weeks back, he had a feature article on his swimming career as well as his baseball prowess. So his success in the pool and the baseball diamond is pretty impressive. And the best part about Bryce is that he's accomplished all of this and he's only a junior. So hopefully I'll see you back here next year with some more things to celebrate. So congratulations, Bryce.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you to our students for sharing your time and your talent at each of your schools, sharing your talents with your peers, with your teachers, and thank you to your parents. Thank you, Mom and Dad and brothers and sisters, for all you do to support our young people that have been recognized here this evening. As has been said, we couldn't do it without your help and encouraging your child and getting them to the school and participating. You've set tremendous example for them, and it shows in what your children have been able to accomplish. So thank you very much to everyone. At this time, we're going to take some pictures. So we'll break for a few minutes, and then we'll restart our meeting shortly.
It's the gavel made me just instantly run back to my seat.
You're almost. All right, thank you very much. Before we begin our public comments, I'd like to read our mission statement. Township High School District 211 serves the needs of our diverse community by providing relevant and rigorous learning experiences, opportunities for involvement, and strong support systems that empower all students to reach our full potential. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public comments, and the board welcomes you and is pleased to listen to your comments this evening. It's important that you know this is a public board meeting and not a dialogue, so the board members will not be responding to your comments or answering questions at this time. As a reminder, the board meeting is being taped and live streamed. We ask that you value the procedures and decorum of our meeting and be respectful of those at the podium so they may be heard. When I call your name, please come forward to the podium and state your name for the record. Though not required, you may state if you are a resident of the district. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. You will receive a notification when you have 1 minute remaining. Any individual's unused time or place in order may not be deferred to another individual. If you wish a response from the superintendent, please leave your name and phone number with Mr. Teneper. He's at the end of the board table here. All right, so we will have 5 minutes. I have the first name I'm going to call is Rick Bauer, followed by Jessica Torres.
Thank you, Mrs. Klimkowitz. My name is Rick Bauer, and this is my 18th year as a counselor at Conant. Tonight, it's my honor to represent the 130 counselors, social workers, psychologists, speech therapists, and nurses in District 211. We're here to present some inspiring news about some of the impact that our student services ESSER staff are having on the mental health of our students across our district, and to request that our ESSER staff be permanently retained once the federal funding runs out for these staff after next school year. ESSER, or Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief, is a federally funded program created in response to the disruptions in student learning caused by the pandemic. District 211 has wisely used this funding to temporarily increase our student services staff, and these new staff are making a tremendous difference. Through the first semester of this school year, our 15 ESSER-funded counselors across our 5 main high schools had a total of 5,716 counseling meetings with students. This puts our ESSER counselors on track to hold over 11,000 meetings with students in this school year alone. That's 11,000 mental health meetings with our District 211 students that likely would never have happened if it wasn't for our ESSER counselors. Here are just a few examples of the dozens of ways that our ESSER staff are helping our students across our district. At Schaumburg, our ESSER counselors are working with students who are coming back to school after being hospitalized for mental health emergencies. At Hoffman, our ESSER counselors are meeting one-on-one with English learner students to help them overcome their unique cultural, academic, and mental health challenges. At Palatine, our ESSER counselors are visiting the homes of chronically truant students to help them overcome obstacles so that they can get back to school. And at Fremd, our ESSER counselors are meeting one-on-one with transfer students to support their academic and social emotional needs. At Conant, our ESSER counselors are connecting students in crisis with food, clothing, and legal resources. And across the district, our ESSER nurse floats from school to school to administer medication, deliver first aid, and complete student medical histories. Our entire ESSER staff are making a real difference right now. However, creating a longer-term vision for student services in District 211 can't be championed by someone else down the line. It should be done by us now, and our ESSER staff should be a part of this vision. As we've seen, much of the work of our ESSER staff and of all the student services can be measured in data. However, let's never forget that the real value of what we do cannot be measured by data alone. You can't put a number on compassion or perseverance or instinct. Data is not a 211 social worker who found emergency housing for a homeless student who was found sleeping overnight in a park. Data isn't a 211 nurse who provided a mother with a list of pediatric oncologists for a child whose chronic colds and yellowish skin turned out to be signs of advanced stage cancer. Data isn't a 211 psychologist who delivered meals during the worst of the pandemic to a student living in poverty, whose single mother just suffered a permanently disabling and near-fatal stroke. These aren't fictional or exaggerated crises. These crises actually happened to two Conant students, brothers in fact, who for 8 years were supported by the same outstanding team of student services professionals. These kinds of crises happen thousands of times across our district each year, and we always answer the call. This is our story. It's the story of District 211 Student Services, and it's a story that illustrates just how much we were needed before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and how much we're going to be needed in the years to come. The contributions of our ESSER staff are irreplaceable. Our ESSER staff are irreplaceable. Let's find a way together to make our ESSER staff permanent. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Torres, followed by Patty Marasco.
Good evening. My name is
If you
Jessica
can
Torres.
there you go. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Torres. I am a math teacher at Palatine High School. I moved to the U.S. in December of 1994. I was angry at my parents for moving here. I cried every night for 6 months until I finally accepted that we were not moving back. I am very grateful for my high school EL teachers and teacher assistants. They helped me through a very drastic change in my life. These relationships I created with these trusted adults, even though they were against my will at the time, helped me get through a very difficult part of my life. I was able to create these relationships because of the consistency of my everyday. My schedule was given to me on day one, and it never changed. From my experience, I can say that consistency is very important. Every year, we start with a full class of students in our EL and shelter classes, and every year, 2 weeks into the semester or later, we're shuffling students' schedules because we need to accommodate our new arrivals. All our efforts to create a community within our classrooms go down the drain. Students' schedules get shifted over and over. In the middle of March, about 40 students' schedules got changed again. Why? Because we have new arrivals throughout the year. Last year, we had more than 100 new arrival students. This year, we reach 100 by the middle of March. Next year, the number will increase, as it has every year. Shelter and EL teachers' classrooms are always changing, but instead of being reactive, we can do a better job at being proactive. It will be much easier to introduce a couple of students to our classes throughout the year than moving kids around to make space for our new arrivals. Not to mention that our TAs do not start in the beginning of the school year. They get hired after the school has started. This causes us to have to train staff to be effective in the classroom while we try to serve and connect with the new arrivals. To have another adult in our classroom is a learning curve for the classroom teacher, the TAs, and the students. It seems that as a district, we're not understanding the meaning of equity. Equity does not mean equal. We cannot treat all buildings the same because they're not the same. We cannot treat all students the same because they're not. If an AP or accelerated student schedules needed to be changed in the middle of the semester, we all know that parents would be on the phone complaining and very upset about the changes. My daughter is starting high school next year. If her schedule were changed in the middle of semester, I would also be on the phone advocating for my child because changes in the middle of the semester are rare and cause a lot of stress on any student. I am fortunate to understand our education system, and I can advocate. The amount of stress this causes a student who is new to the country can be traumatizing. But what do we do with our EL students? We change their schedules, we move them, we take advantage of the fact that we know their parents will not complain. Is this fair? Is this equitable? At Palatine High School, we have about 600 EL students. This number will only grow by the end of the year and will even be higher by next school year. Our teachers know that, our administration knows that, our principal knows that. However, we're failing to plan accordingly. Packing a class with 28 to 30 students is a disservice to our students and our teachers. We're only setting them up for failure. Our EL students are better served in smaller settings. where we can create a meaningful interactions as they transition into our schools. We need smaller class sizes in our shelter classes in order to avoid moving students around. We need to be able to hire our TAs in the summer so they can start with us on day one. We can build a classroom community from the beginning of the school year. We need to understand the needs of our students and offer classes that will help them succeed. Another solution can be to teach the EL co-taught classes in all disciplines, just as we offer co-taught classes to our special education students to meet their needs. We do not have enough teachers that are EL certified. By adding an EL teacher to our regular classes could alleviate that issue. It is important to understand that a point person to help us create lesson plans or monthly PD is not enough to successfully meet the needs of our EL students. Our students will also could learn the material and the language at the same time. As a mother, a teacher, a community member, I am here to advocate for our EL students because their parents do not understand their rights or how to advocate in our education system. They trust that we are doing the best for their children and we are not doing right by them. So before we finalize section numbers, I ask the board and the district to take into consideration our EL students' needs and not to let them down. I believe they have struggled enough. We're one of the biggest districts in Illinois. Here's our opportunity to show what we are capable of and lead by example. Thank you to all my colleagues that are here with me showing their support to our EL students.
Thank you. Eddie Marasco, followed by Nick Gasso.
Good evening. I'm Patty Marasco, a former 211 student and the mother of 2 future 211 students. I'm also a current EL science teacher for the district. Against the advice of my peers and my own better judgment, I'm speaking tonight on behalf of my Level 1 and Level 2 EL students who do not yet know enough English to join the mainstream classes. I recognize that dozens of languages are spoken across the district, but tonight I'm focusing on Spanish-speaking students, the majority of our EL population. The state of Illinois mandates that schools with more than 20 speakers of any language must offer transitional bilingual education services to that group, and most 211 schools have well over that number of Spanish-speaking students. This includes instruction in both English and Spanish for core academic subjects, language arts, math, science, and social studies. For the hundreds of students who do not yet speak enough English to take science or social studies, they are receiving instruction in only 2 of the 4 core subjects. Right now, most 211 schools are not offering social studies or science classes for our Spanish-speaking students in their native language. This means that many EL students take 3 periods of English, 2 periods of math, and have a non-credit resource class because there are no other classes in which to put them. They are offered 2 core subjects every day. Others are struggling in English-speaking classes with only a translator to convey complex ideas. District 211 adopted an equity matrix in 2022 with a stated goal of providing all students with the opportunity they deserve to select and succeed in rigorous coursework. We are failing to even offer this coursework to our growing Spanish-speaking populations, let alone providing them the opportunity to succeed in it. Denying a large segment of our students the opportunity to grow academically in the same building where English-speaking peers are offered a world-class education is unjust. I have watched my colleagues, department chairs, and administrators create proposals for these classes, ask for funding and for teachers who can teach these classes, only for these requests to be denied. We are not meeting our obligations to our students, but I'm confident that we have the resources. As our population changes, we need to be proactive and change our practices with it. I am not here to place any blame, but I am imploring the district to find a solution for these underserved students. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Gasso, followed by Mukan Dewan. Do I have a Mick Gasso? Oh, sorry.
My name is Mick Gasso. As the Northwest Regional Director for Illinois Family Institute's Public School Exit Team, I've been speaking at these meetings for months about the need to get children out of this horrific environment. One of my early speeches, I said that even if the board did not approve comprehensive sex ed, which I knew that they would, as parents and guardians, you would be faced with other issues. Hence, the best alternative has always been to get your precious children out of these indoctrination centers. They approved that garbage in November, and we heard the superintendent say they had to because they either teach that or they couldn't teach the topic at all, which was totally false, and it may get worse. As I said last month, first exposed by writer Christopher Rufo regarding Mundelein High School District 120, D211 may become also like them, as they brought in Lurie's Children's Hospital's Beyond Binary program, which recommends a binary exchange program to assist teenage girls in binding their breast, a kid-friendly website for gender-affirming gear, and an LGBTQ-friendly sex shop for teens. In Palatine District 15, your feeder district brought this radical agenda in January to an Institute Day. Also, from Awake, Illinois and LifeSite News, in a February 21 video published by Lurie's, there's an adoptive mom, Carla, speaking about gender to her adoptive daughter named True, quoting, Lurie's Children's Hospital of Chicago published this video promoting a woman who facilitated her adoptive child's transition to non-binary at 5 or 6 years old. That child wasn't a boy or a girl and now uses the pronouns they and them. My birth parents said I was a girl, but they made a mistake, end quote, the little girl tells her adoptive mother. And this trash of Lurie's may soon be coming to a D211 school near you. Also, as of yesterday, the board person who had the most votes for re-election in 211 was someone funded by the teachers union, a person who prior to the election took down her disgusting podcast titles so to hide them from unknowing voters. Those titles included Let's Talk About Porn, All About Oral Sex, All About Anal, Consent for Kids, and more. How disgusting. This shows the power of evil in this district and the evil of the teachers union and those who may bring their sick ideas to the classroom in more subjects than comprehensive sex ed. Her immoral and frightening agenda is to make sure kids know porn rather than truly educate students in subjects like English language arts. In 2022 at Schaumburg High, which was rated exemplary by the state, 61% of students were now proficient in ELA, and that at a cost of $20,000 per student. Of the 5 schools in 211, only one found a percentage over 50% in ELA the past 2 years. How sad, and yet parents say they moved to this area because of their schools. Options are aplenty to save your children, like private schools, homeschooling, and micro schools, where students of various grade levels are together. And while it might seem to be a daunting task, it's actually easier than one may think. In fact, a micro school can be set up in as little as 2 weeks, and it's growing like crazy. Parents and guardians say they cannot afford to stay home and homeschool their children or send them to a private school, and I understand the financial burden this presents. Regardless of your religious affiliation, the leaders of your place of worship could set up a scholarship fund and help families in need, like the one that was done at my church in Barrington. And one of our partner groups at IFI, the Good Soil, Good Seed Foundation, is in the process of raising $1 million to help families in need to save their children from state-run indoctrination camps that some people call schools. Homeschooling scores far exceed those of D211. And regarding sports, which sometimes people use as a concern,
you have 1 minute remaining.
Christian schools like Families of Faith Christian Academy offer fantastic extracurricular activities where outstanding athletes get scholarships. In the Bible, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, Paul writes, quoting, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers, for what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have in darkness?" End quote. And this district is as wicked and dark as they come. Russian dictator Vladimir Lenin said, quoting, "Give me just one generation and I'll transition the whole world," end quote. The public schools are turning our students and children into Marxists. They're definitely destroying their innocence in 211 and using them as weapons of choice to destroy America. Your children deserve better, emotionally, spiritually, and academically. And I'm here to tell you once again to save your children and get them out now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mukan Dewan, followed by Robbie Volkemer.
Is it Mukan? It is.
Good evening. My name is Mukund Dewan. I'm a senior at Fremd High School. I'm here to talk about the use of ESSER funds, specifically at Fremd High School. So mental health has always been a concern in schools, and with students still feeling the effects of the pandemic or just increased stress levels in general, these issues are prevalent as ever. However, this year we have seen an additional hiring of social workers and on-call counselors offered at Fremd High School, funded by the ESSER grants. As it stands, the support staff at Fremd High School will no longer be available for students beyond next school year due to the ESSER grant expiry. But when speaking to those support staff members, it is clear that our students need this support. Although these funds are to help transition back from the COVID era of schooling, our district must evaluate where we can find the resources to have this additional support staff be present beyond the expiration of our ESSER grants. Mental health is always going to be something that schools will have to address, and it starts with making sure that students are supported in the building and ensuring that we have the resources available so that every student knows that they have people in the school that they can trust. I'm calling on this district to evaluate how we can create permanent on-call counselors, additional on-call counselors at Fremd High School. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Robbie Volkemer, followed by Kathy Riesberg.
This is a bittersweet appearance tonight, as this will be my last attendance to the D211 Board of Education because my family will be moving out of state. We've raised 3 children that have all gone through District 54 and D211, and I have been what most would describe as an involved parent. I'd like to feel I put my best efforts forward in trying to make my community the best it could be, but I'm sure there was more that I could have done. Unfortunately, some things were just out of my control. That's where I'd like to encourage and recommend that those sitting before me stay focused on what the district's mission is and what schools are supposed to be achieving, helping to create academically challenging environments that will help to produce self-thinking, productive members of society. It's not about who has the best basketball team or putting feminine hygiene products in the boys' bathrooms. It's about academics. I'll remind you of the D211 mission statement. Township High School District 211 serves the needs of our diverse community by providing relevant and rigorous learning experiences, opportunities for involvement, and strong support systems that empower all students to reach their full potential. Please strive for this mission at all our D211 schools. Pay close attention to academic inadequacies and inequalities as they are present, and try to correct and rectify these problems with your D211 community, including but not limited to parents, staff, students, and administration. Remember, as a team striving for the same goal, we are unstoppable. Please try to work with your fellow board members and put politics aside. The Board of Education is supposed to be nonpartisan, but as recent elections have shown, it's anything but. Stop the attacks. They are not productive and slow or halt progress. Stick to the facts and ways of implementing policies to make this district on a path that strives to improve and produce students that are confident and secure with their next steps after high school. I have had contact or worked with all of you that sit before me tonight, and although I have not always agreed with you all, I sure hope you feel I tried to understand your opinion and respected you. A special thanks to Mark and Pete for assisting me with my run for the Board of Education a few years ago and listening to my many concerns over the years. Thank you to Anna and Dr. Small for working with me to implement a Japanese language course option at D211. I sure hope that this program expands, as I don't think our work here is done. And lastly, thank you to all of you having a listening ear, and I hope you all continue to listen and strive for the best for the D211 community and beyond. I'd also like to let you know that Japanese Culture Night with Schaumburg Oinokai, you should be receiving an invitation if you haven't done so already, will be Friday, May 12th at 7 p.m. at Dooley Elementary School in Schaumburg. Thank you again for all the years and listening.
Thank you. Kathy Riesberg?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Risberg, and as a taxpayer for 45 years in this community, I want to thank all the students, staff, and school board and community members here in District 211 and all across America who have shown such courage, strength, and resiliency in confronting the relentless campaigns of disinformation that at times have threatened the physical and mental health of so many students and families in our communities, sowed distrust and division, fueled fear and anger, and threatened the very fabric of our democracy. Fortunately, this most recent school board election demonstrated that the majority of parents in this community value exactly what those of you who were reelected indicated were your priorities: fiscal responsibility, wellness and safety, and community engagement. In your description of wellness and safety, you said, social and emotional well-being is essential to our students' success. When students feel safe and supported and valued, they are more likely to be engaged in their learning and to have higher levels of achievement. Yet we know that even in the face of the tragic recent loss of 6 precious lives to gun violence, 3 children and 3 adults at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee, and the impassioned pleas of the Tennessee 3 and local Nashville March for Our Lives students and their supporters, some self-serving politicians funded by dark money and the NRA want us as parents in America to keep our focus on the culture wars raging in this country. Culture wars that were intentionally designed to build political power for these self-serving politicians by taking away the freedom to learn and the freedom to read, and specifically designed to threaten the safety, well-being, dignity, and value of each student. These manufactured cultured wars have been created to help us ignore a basic human right shared by all students, the right to live. And the most basic of all parental rights, the right to send your own child to school and expect them to be alive and return home at the end of the day and not be gunned down by a weapon of war or experience the life-altering and devastating physical gun violence injuries if they are lucky to survive. However, it is so good to know that as the majority of parents and community members, we share a common vision with all of you on the D211 School Board, a vision for the days ahead when once again all of us are working together to provide the support every student needs to succeed. Our students deserve to know that we are a strong and engaged community and that we will continue to stand up and speak up for every single student's safety and well-being, for every single student's right to learn, and for every single student's right to live. Thank you, and congratulations to our school board for a great campaign and for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That will take us to our presentations. Dr. Small?
We'll get the screens rolling and then we'll begin. Tonight, Chief Operating Officer Lauren Hummel and Controller and Treasurer Barb Peterson will present the updated 5-year financial projections. The 5-year projection illustrates the district's anticipated revenues and expenditures through the year 2027-2028. Several fixed, variable, and projected conditions are included within this projection. These assumptions and variables are likely to change over the years, but this projection gives the board a perspective of current and future trends as we approach the upcoming budget and levy discussions.
Thank you and good evening. It is hard to believe that we are in the fourth quarter of our current fiscal year, and as a result, we've prepared an end-of-year budget projection that is the first step in updating our five-year financial forecast.
You got to move the whole mic forward, Lauren. And Barb, can you do the same when you're ready? Thank you.
Is that better?
Perfect.
The district's five-year projection serves as an important financial tool to help provide a long-range look at both financial trends and fund balance to ensure that the district maintains sufficient financial resources to support our annual needs while also preserving a level of reserves that are established for unforeseen financial conditions. For tonight's presentation, Barb and I will begin by providing the board with an update on the anticipated ending position for the fiscal year 23 budget, and will then transition to the five-year financial projection, where we will begin by sharing a number of economic and operational assumptions, followed by a review of our anticipated ending position in 5 years. So we'll begin first by reviewing information pertaining to our current year budget. The current projection for the end of the fiscal year is that the district will end with a near break-even budget position, about a 1% variance from budget plan for all funds combined. The greatest area of variance is attributed to revenue that's received in excess of budget by approximately $5 million, while expenditures are projected to end unfavorably compared to budget by about $1.5 million. To review that in further detail, the budget variance for revenue is primarily due to two categories of income. First is that of corporate personal property replacement taxes, or CPPRT, which is an amount of replacement taxes that are set by the Department of Revenue. This budget is not released until after our district budget is developed. The amount of revenue in this category has been favorable over the past few years compared to historical averages, and the same is proving to hold true for this year. It's estimated that we will end about $3 million ahead of budget for CPPRT. Additionally, investment earnings continue to rise, which is positive and impacts our overall budget. We estimate that we will receive an additional $2 million compared to budget plan due to investment earnings. Other areas of revenue, including local property taxes, are estimated to end close to budget plan by year end. In the area of expenditures, there are four main categories of expense that are driving our unfavorable budget variance. Salaries and benefits are trending unfavorably compared to budget. As enrollment growth occurred after the start of the school year, staffing needs increased. Benefit trends are higher than projected by district's health insurance consultants due largely to high dollar claimants and prescription drug charges, particularly those for specialty prescriptions. Special education tuition costs are projected to remain unfavorable as the direct result of an unknown student placements at the time of the budget development. Utility costs are projected to end under budget as the result of ComEd credits that have been received this school year. More information is provided to you on these credits that was detailed in the energy report on tonight's agenda. Finally, while we anticipate ending close to budget, wanted to note that our capital outlay is projected to end near budget by year end.
The monthly financial statements provided to you are an important tool in analyzing the financial health of our district. The five-year financial forecast is another important tool, which we update several times a year. Our last look at the forecast was in conjunction with the 2022 levy recommendation. Tonight, we will present a forecast with updated assumptions and variables. The strategic plan is the significant driving factor in developing the forecast, providing a roadmap for spending over the course of the next 5 years. The forecast assumes that all of our strategic priorities will be fulfilled, including meeting all of our student readiness goals, hiring and retaining a top quality staff, maintaining safe and supportive facilities, providing software and infrastructures to support our programming, all while remaining debt-free. The property tax levy is responsible for over 80% of the revenues in the forecast. The 2022 levy passed this December is the basis for our revenue moving forward. This levy represents a 3.8% over the prior year, less than the maximum allowable increase of 5.3%. The tax recapture levy in the amount of $4.8 million was abated in full for the 2022 levy year. Combined, the board approved $8.4 million of tax relief this year for taxpayers. The forecast model assumes tax revenue growth from the yellow line in the chart moving forward. Property tax refunds continue to be a significant loss for the district, averaging $6.6 million per year. While the collection rate in the first year of the levy is close to 99%, refunds continue to be processed for many, many years after the initial year of the levy, driving the ultimate collection rate closer to 97.5%. The county's response to the loss in revenue due to refunds was to pass a recapture levy, automatically re-levying certain types of property tax refunds across all taxpayers. The losses incurred by the district for property tax refunds have always been anticipated and factored into our financial planning. The board has abated the recapture levy in full since its inception 2 years ago. The forecast model assumes this levy will continue to be abated in full for each of the next 5 years. The levy can be increased each year by an index equal to the amount of the consumer price index from the year before, up to a maximum of 5%. The 2022 CPI of 6.5% will be capped this year at 5% and will be the basis for the 2023 levy. The forecast model assumes a 5% levy for next year. For future years, the model uses the 10-year CPI average of 2.6% as the levy increase. These are big assumptions and have a significant impact on the numbers you will see tonight. Variations in the CPI assumptions can produce significantly different results in the forecast.
The district has been allocated more than $14 million in ESSER funds eligible for reimbursement of expenses incurred as a result of the pandemic. While there are specific restrictions for what qualifies as an eligible reimbursement under each ESSER grant, generally speaking, ESSER funds are allocated for academic support and learning loss, social emotional supports, and health and safety supplies and services that are attributed to the pandemic. Current ESSER guidelines allow for eligible expenses to be incurred through September 2024, so for the purpose of the financial projection, it is assumed that all ESSER reimbursements will be received in fiscal year 25. Further, it is assumed that all staff hired and other expenses under the ESSER grant will end through 24 when consistent with the funding period. The board assesses student user fees for a number of supplies and services each year. For the past 3 years, the board has taken action to waive the instructional fee to provide financial relief to families. Student instructional fees of $1.2 million are relinquished each year that the instructional fee is waived. No student instructional fees are included in the 5-year projection. The board will continue to review the assessment of all student user fees annually in conjunction with updated financial information in order to act upon the future setting or waiver of student fees. Ongoing facility improvements are necessary to provide safe and supporting facilities for students and operational programs. Last month, the board received an update on the district's facility improvement plan. The district will be completing projects in its 10-year facility plan through summer 2027 and will complete the current life safety projects this summer. Future life safety projects are projected to begin summer 2025. Further, the board approved use of the land sale proceeds for the replacement of public address systems, auditorium upgrades, and the addition of cooling to the remaining applied technology classrooms. Public address systems and applied technology cooling will take place over the next 2 summers, while auditorium improvements will extend beyond that and be completed over the next several years, with expenses estimated through fiscal year 29. The district has also engaged architects and engineers to conduct a master facility study, creating a detailed plan for recommended replacement needs and costs for each facility. This plan is scheduled to be complete fall of 23, with projects to begin as early as the summer of 2024. Capital outlay costs for major capital projects, life safety capital projects, and routine maintenance projects are included in the 5-year projection as presented. The summary on this slide provides estimated costs in all 3 categories of facility improvements. Life safety projects generally include roof and mechanical equipment replacement. While a new survey may not be complete in fiscal year 25, it is anticipated that we will continue to have replacement needs in these categories that would be categorized as routine maintenance projects. As project schedules are refined in future years, budget amounts may vary by year. However, in total, costs are estimated to align with the figures that are included in this projection. The board has approved a safety and security budget for the year with specific focus on measures to improve the safety and security systems throughout our schools, including our public address systems, camera system upgrades from analog to HD systems, and the addition of security personnel in our schools for presence that expands beyond the typical school day. The financial projection includes costs for ongoing camera system upgrades, continuation of school safety and security personnel positions, and replacement of the PA system as was detailed in the capital outlay slide that was just provided. The majority of these costs will be included in the operations and maintenance fund.
As TIF districts expire, the increased EAV is added to the tax rolls as new property growth. This new property growth can either be captured as new revenue or used to reduce the tax rate for all taxpayers. The decision must be made the year the TIF expires. There are 3 TIFs potentially retiring during the 5-year forecast period. The forecast model assumes that these TIFs will be captured as additional revenue, representing approximately $2 million in new revenue for the district over the 5 years. This is a summary of the assumptions Lauren and I have discussed tonight. Each assumption is individually significant and represents our best estimate at this point in time. The forecast paints a picture of financial health for the next 5 years, given the assumptions discussed. Reserves decline but remain above the board's minimum of 33%. Budget deficits are planned and represent spending of land sale proceeds and other reserves to complete capital projects in accordance with the strategic plan. The 1 year of budget surplus in 2025 is due to the gap year in life safety projects while we complete the next life safety survey, as Lauren discussed. Overall, this forecast is cautiously favorable given the variables assumed. The balance of our financial reserves is critical to our financial health. Board policy requires we maintain balance of 33% of next year's estimated expenditures, or about 4 months' worth of cash on hand. At June 30th, 2022, our reserves were approximately 57%. Over the last 10 years, we have strategically used our reserves for priorities such as capital spending, pay down of pension liabilities, tax abatement, and debt reduction. The need to carry sufficient fund balance to avoid short-term borrowing has never been more apparent than the first half of this fiscal year. With the delay in issuance of the second installment of the property tax bills by Cook County, the district did not receive any monies through the first 5 months of fiscal 23 from its largest source. Reserves of almost $88 million were used to cover current expenses. As of November 30th, our overall fund balance had dropped to 26% from 57%. Excess reserves have afforded us sufficient cash flow to avoid borrowing monies this fall to fund payroll and other expenses. Projecting the fund balance forward through the forecast period, fund balance levels are forecast to decline slowly, the result of the spending of the land sale proceeds and other reserves on facility improvements. In 5 years, we estimate reaching the targeted fund balance levels if the assumptions hold true. While we know one thing is for sure, that things will change, as assumptions become reality, we will update the model with new information. This financial forecast will be updated again this summer in conjunction with the 2024 school year budget and again in the fall during the levy discussions. As we mentioned several times, there are many variables in this forecast, and the changing of the variables produce significant significantly different financial outcomes. We remind you to be cognizant of the short-term and long-term financial impacts of your decisions in order to protect and maintain the strength of this district for years to come. Instructional excellence continues to be our top priority, but we cannot continue to achieve it without a solid infrastructure and sound financial management. Thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions you have this evening.
Mr. Dombrowski, do you want to start since you're on the phone? Questions?
No, I'm good at this time.
You're good? All right. Any questions, Ms. Cavill?
Yes, I have some questions. So you said we have approximately 4 months of operating expenses in reserve. That's the 33% board policy, right? Which translates to that equivalent of about four months of operating expenses. Okay, so realizing you probably can't provide me this figure now, but I would like a follow-up. For our current reserve level, I would like to know how many days of operating expenses that translates to. Is that possible to get?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'd be interested in that. You could provide that to all the board. So, you know, when I'm looking here at slide 10, for forecast assumptions there on the bottom, it says 2023. Is that assuming, you know, why are we assuming a 5% for 2023? Sorry, yeah, there we go. Forecast assumptions.
That is the PTEL limitation, and that is typically what we have shown this time so that the board has a picture of what a full levy looks like. And then certainly as the levy discussion takes place, you know, we will review it at that time with regard to any updates in our current financial position.
Okay.
But that's a valid point. When they keep repeating the assumptions, that is an assumption.
Yeah.
That goes in at this point in time.
So it's an assumption at this point of time, pending board action, should we choose to go a different route.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's important to be made clear. That's a high number and it sticks out. You know, I think it's important to know. So, you know, one reason why I wanted to ask about the number of days of operating expenses we currently have in reserve is the passage out of committee of Senate Bill 1994. Okay, which unanimously passed out of committee, which it's regarding it's billed as a cap, but it doesn't function as a cap, really, a theoretical cap on school district operating reserves, saying that, you know, there's specific targets, and if a school district has more than, you know, the prescribed targets and that's currently in this bill, they have to submit a plan for the spending of that money rather than just continually holding it in reserve. And so knowing that nothing's certain in Illinois politics or politics in general, I was interested in that to know, you know, in these discussions that are currently happening in the State House, what would then our current financial forecast look like in accordance with these metrics that are being proposed, which is why I'm so interested in knowing at our current operating fund balance, how many days of operating expenses would we have? And then I want to take that information and look about how this bill would or would not apply to us. And so I think that's something important to be on the horizon. You know, if such a thing becomes law, that might have a significant impact on the way that this district financially operates. I think that's something that we need to be aware of and up for potential discussion at some point. So later on towards the end, I failed to write down the slide number here, but you were talking about the expiration of the 3 TIFs in the next 5 years. Let me just get here.
16.
Yeah, and thank you. Yes, slide 16. And you kind of offhand mentioned, I know that we've gotten written there on the side, Palatine downtown TIF payments, $2 million annually. But you also mentioned as an aside that the board could choose instead to use that to relieve the overall burden on all taxpayers. And I wondered if you'd give me more information about what you're meaning in terms of board action regarding the expiration of TIFs.
Sure. If we were to pass a levy of the tax cap plus new property growth, that would pull in the TIFs as new property growth and give us additional revenue. If we were to pass anything less than that, we would cap our levy at a certain level, like we did last year at 3.8%, meaning that that new property growth would just come in and get absorbed, and everybody's taxes would be at a slightly lower rate because it's spread over more properties.
So in general, I mean, I'm happy to see, comparing to the financial projections that I saw in my first term as a board member, now 4 years down the road, I'm happy to see that when you're looking, I'm looking here at slide 18, I am happy to see that the reserves are coming down, that we're spending down those reserves. I'm a little wary because I know that things have been strange with COVID and you know, there's a fine art to projections, and projections are only as good as the information that you have. You know, a lot of times we feel like we're going to be spending things down and then a budget ends up to be in surplus. And so, you know, to me, when I'm looking at this, there needs to be a balance between certainly a downward trend of capping of reserves that are just hoarding resources, but also making sure that it's not a cliff that then impacts our programs. And I think this is going the right direction, but I think it's really important just for everybody who's watching to be aware that, like, the assumptions are really just assumptions, and we as a board can certainly do things differently from what we see on the projections that we see here, right? Okay, thank you. I appreciate the presentation.
Mr. McGowan, any questions? Mr. Rosenblum?
First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was very easy to understand. And I also want to thank Mrs. Cavill for bringing up Senate Bill 1994. I had the exact same questions and concerns, and I was going to raise the same issue with regards to how many days we have in reserves, and what if that legislation were to pass through and get approved, what that may or may not do to our limited ability to maintain cash reserves for ourselves. So I appreciate whatever information you can provide back to the board on that. Thank you.
Also, sorry, just to follow up. So when we were talking about assumptions, aside from the hard numbers of CPI, et cetera, on budget surplus and expenditure, I think it's also important to note there was a decent amount of inclusion of, the assumption is that we're letting the ESSER staff go. And that, again, is an assumption at this point. It is not an inevitability pending board action, right? So just want it to be very clear.
Mr. Bradley?
None for me. Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation.
I do have a question, and I know you probably don't have the answer at this time. We heard about the support staff, the social workers, counselors that we've added. If we were to continue employment of those individuals, would that be that $5 million that was shown for the ESSER amount, or is it a lesser amount? It may be, I know you don't have the answer right now, but maybe that's something you can provide. What would the cost be if we were to, able to continue employment of those individuals?
Sure. That was part of our ESSER write-up a couple of months ago, so we do have that number handy. It's about $1.4 million right now, and it would continue to grow at rate of teacher salary increases and benefit increases over the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for the clear presentation. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
That takes us to our consent agenda items. Does any board member wish to have an item pulled from the consent agenda? All right, if not, then the recommended action is that the consent agenda be approved as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Cavill?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Mr. McGowan?
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum?
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz?
Aye. Then that takes us to our special reports and communication, the Freedom of Information Act. The next is start times for 23-24. I don't know, Dr. Small?
In order to make efficient use of our transportation resources, school buses are used first to transport our students at our early start schools, then move on to transport our students at our late start schools and do some of our individualized special education runs. The starting and dismissal times will remain the same for 23-24 as indicated in the write-up.
All right, the next item is the energy conservation update, which is part of our strategic plan. Dr. Small?
In the current strategic plan, section 9.4 includes the improvement of safety and modernization of facilities, including enhancing energy efficiency. District 211 maintains a comprehensive energy management program with the goal to reduce energy consumption and lower utility costs. The board report includes details of the energy initiatives, including utilization of building automation systems, to maintain temperature controls all hours of the day, replacement of facility systems with more efficient replacements, and competitive pricing solicitation for energy rates.
Okay. Any questions? All right, then, thank you. That brings us to then our unfinished business, and the first recommended action is be it resolved that all first-year teacher assistants and all first-year certified nursing assistants as presented not be reemployed for the 2023-2024 school year due to a decrease in the number of positions available at this time. Be it further resolved that said employees be notified by personal service by the Board of Education Secretary of their terminations and honorable dismissals as teacher assistants or certified nursing assistants in this school district in accordance with the Illinois School Code. If personal service cannot be made, the notices shall be sent by certified mail. Return receipt requested. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
A discussion? Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
No.
Mr. Bradley,
No.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. The motion carries. The next item is the recommended action is that the board policy file GDBC Management Personnel Fringe Benefits be modified as proposed and added as an active board policy on board docs. Further, that the superintendent be directed to make appropriate distribution. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Bradley, Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. The next motion carries. The next item is the board policy file GJBC Transportation Personnel Fringe Benefits be modified as proposed and added as an active board policy on board docs. Further, that the superintendent be directed to make appropriate distribution. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is that board policy file GFBC Clerical and Technology Services Employees Fringe Benefits be deleted as a board policy. Further, that the superintendent be directed to remove the policy from active status on board docs. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is board policy file GHBC Custodial Maintenance Employees Fringe Benefits be deleted as a board policy. Further, that the superintendent be directed to remove the policy from active status on board docs. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. The motion carries. The next item is that the board policy file GIBC Food Service Personnel Fringe Benefits be deleted as a board policy. Further, that the superintendent be directed to remove the policy from active status on board docs. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is that Board Policy File JFCD Academic Dishonesty should be updated with a review date of April 13th, 2023, with no additional changes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is that Board Policy File JFCL Electronic Devices be modified as proposed and added as an active board policy on board docs. Further, that the superintendent be directed to make appropriate distribution. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is that Board Policy File JFCI, Student Chemical Abuse, be deleted as a board policy. Further, that the superintendent be directed to remove the policy from active status on board docs. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill, Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is under new business, and it is that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent for and on behalf of the Board of Education to enter into a 3-year contractual agreement between Township High School District 211 and Ombudsman Educational Services at a cost of $238,735 for 2023-2024, $245,910 for 2024-2025, and $253,295 for 2025-2026. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Is there anything, Dr. Small?
For many years, the Board of Education has authorized the utilization of Ombudsman Educational Services as an alternative educational setting. The Ombudsman program is a viable alternative for students who have struggled in their regular high school setting, including those with poor attendance or those who may be at risk for dropping out of school as they fall behind in credits required for graduation. Ombudsman provides a program designed to allow students to focus on their academics and earn District 211 graduation credit. The 3-year contract is set to expire at the end of this school year, and a new 3-year contract is recommended to use as alternative options for our students.
Thank you. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 63 Zoll AED 3s from School Health in the amount of $113,080. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion, and Dr. Small?
The AED devices throughout our buildings and grounds of our facilities are part of the emergency preparedness plan for the district. Tonight's recommended action replaces the AEDs that are near end of useful life cycle and therefore need replacement.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. The motion carries. The next item is potential topics for future discussion. Okay, I didn't have a call from anyone.
Sorry. So I don't know if I'm open to direction on the right thing to do here. I'm not necessarily proposing a board discussion as yet, so maybe this is in the wrong place. But I would like an administrative response to the information presented in public comments regarding the English language learner students, particularly at Palatine High School. So some specific things were brought up. Now, if that is just I can just state, I would like the administration's point of view and I would like a response, and that doesn't need to be here on potential topics for future discussion, then I apologize if I'm out of place.
Is that something that you can give us an update on, what's happening in the ELL classes and talk a little bit about the number of students in the class?
I don't want to put you on the spot tonight, obviously. So what I'm particularly interested in response to is the escalating number of student schedule changes throughout the semester. Another thing I wrote down here is the hiring of the TAs. It was mentioned that the TAs only get hired after the start of the classes, not in the summer. I'd like a response to that. And let's see here, the class size issue that was also brought up. So there are some specifics here regarding that public comment. I would just like to hear the administration's point of view.
Is there consensus for that before we ask Dr. Small to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I would also like to learn more information about that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and Mr. Dombrowski?
I couldn't hear exactly what was being requested. As long as our board agreement is whatever one board member gets, all board members get, I
Correct.
have an objection.
Correct. All right, if you can get us some information to kind of take a look at those issues that were brought up. All right, thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, one more piece with that. If we can look at what a normal average size classroom will look like, because right now we're at 28 to 30, and there are 600 students, and I can assume that number is going to be rising.
So that's in relationship to the public comment, correct?
Yes.
And then I would suspect, we'll get accurate numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that we get that.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
all right.
we can add to it, I'm sorry. And one of the comments was specifically was 2 out of 4 classes. I think it was social study and science, where like, if you can include just information, exactly what's going on, it'd be great. Thank you.
All right, anything else? Any other?
I'm sorry, I'll not to necessarily add on, but I know there's been discussion regarding incoming students and students that, are not English language learner. They are English language learners, and I would like just some more information, maybe some kind of a report provided to us regarding the past couple of years, forecasted next couple of years, and because that'll impact a lot of what's being discussed here as far as class size and ability to have curriculum and courses that are in native languages and things like that.
All right, and now I'm wondering if we're kind of turning the direction a little bit. I think we were looking, if I understand correctly, we were looking to get a little more clarification and address those needs. And I'm a little concerned, Mr. Rosenblum, with what you're presenting. Maybe that should come a little bit further down the road, a little bit with, when we start to look at the scheduling and the curriculum and things of that nature.
There's information we can provide on the programming. We've had some new programming that's already been put in place, taken advantage of by some of our schools that we will get you information on also.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and that takes us to our committee reports. In regards to NSSEO, we had our shining stars. We had a young man who is turning age 22, so he's exiting from the Kirk program. He's in the Secondary Transition Experience Program, the STEP program, and it's a partnership between the Illinois Division of Rehabilitation Services and NSSEO and our District 211. It focuses on providing students with pre-employment skills training and then work experience training, and to help them develop some competitive work skills and plans for post-high school. And that's important both for the student and for their family. They were provided with multiple pre-vocational and work training experience. And this young man, he brought his assistive device up with him, and he even made a couple of comments and spoke to the group there and thanked those of us who were there for his recognition. So that was really nice. He's very excited about what he's going to be able to do. We also had a update on the continuous improvement plan, and they continue to look at the 5 priorities, which is student outcomes, the social emotional learning, supportive, collaborative, and person-centered student environment, transitional service, and collaborative partnerships. So all of those things will be continuing along, and they'll have the information showing up on their dashboard, the NSSEO website. There's a dashboard and how things are progressing. They also pointed out that they have 20 kids that are going to be aging out this year. So, going at age 22. Excuse me. We'll also be at the next, probably the next meeting in May, we'll have information on the budget summary.
Correct, that'll be the May meeting.
At the May meeting, and costs are going up a little bit. We have a number of students that are participating at Kirk. Our students are at Kirk. We also have some non-member students that are participating, and they pay about 30% over of what the member districts pay because there's other expenses that they don't incur, but they do pay at least 30% over to help with the other added costs. So that is about it. Oh, we also had Dr. Meg Schnorr. We introduced her. There was a reception for her. She will be the new incoming superintendent. She's been working with Dr. Hackett, getting a feel of NSSEO and the staff in the school. So very excited in regards to that. So that's it for NSSEO, and then we'll go to EdRed.
Thank you, Mrs. Klimkowitz. So the April meeting for EdRed is tomorrow afternoon. I will be attending via Zoom. It's in person at the administration office for EdRed, but it's also available online. The featured speaker for tomorrow's program will be Michelle Mussman, giving a legislative update from her perspective on what's going on in the area and in Springfield. EdRed continues to advocate to Representative Fred Crespo for additional grant funding for school districts in support of new incoming students. Kind of been my theme tonight, I think. So that's what's going on with them. There are upcoming programs for EdRed members. So since every board member is a member of EdRed, you should be able to access their website and see what they have coming up. One thing in particular that I am already registered to attend is on April 27th. They're having a conference, which is online, and there's different sessions, and one that I've signed up for is around purchasing and construction, because I know we have a lot of things going on with facilities and construction within our district. So I'll be attending that and bring back more information to share.
Okay, thank you. Next is Community and Family Services Report. Either Mr. Dombrowski or Mr. McGowan. Mr. Dombrowski?
Yeah, I have nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. The next is the District 211 Foundation Report. I am very happy to report that it's in the reorganization status, looking to recruit some new potential members to participate in it. We've had a couple of meetings looking at the foundation and how it can align with our strategic plan and maybe take a look at some opportunities that it can offer to our students and to our schools. Dr. Small had given us some components that we can kind of take a look at. One of them was enhancing our high school opportunities for our students, supporting equitable learning spaces for our students, removing barriers to college and post-secondary opportunity access, and also looking at the support the wellness of our District 211 community. So there's a lot of activity that is starting in regards to it. The goal is to get more communication out, to recruit some members to be part of it. And I think it's starting off on a really good step here. Dr. Small, if you'd like to add anything more?
I think that's good for now.
Okay, thank you. All right, then that takes us to our equity report. We just had a meeting here this past Monday. What we took a look at, I was a little bit late for the meeting, so I missed some of the reports from the schools. But we took a look at what's going on, and one of the discussions was, how do we get feedback of things that are going well or things that need improvement in regards to equity and diversion at our schools. One of the suggestions was to have a table at scheduled events. And then that way, maybe there's people that would come and be able to speak with us or our staff, representatives of 211. Another was to get reflections from seniors, to get some feedback from our seniors who have been with us, well, for 4 years, and some of the thoughts that they have, and maybe some suggestions that they have, which is always a good thing. Another point was to continue working on building relationships. And again, that goes with our community partners and things of that nature. One of the other topics that they spoke about was making effective use of the various data that our school collects. So whether it's from some different surveys, things of that nature, what can we do with that data? How can we better utilize it? So that was touched upon a little bit. So there's a lot going on. And LaShonda is doing a wonderful job in regards to it. She had us thinking and talking, and she continues to work with the schools on equity and diversity issues. So that is it for the committee reports then. And that would take us to, we have our announcements. Got a number of activities coming up. And then that takes us to closed session.
In looking at the upcoming events and activities, just out of curiosity, is there a need for a board member to attend the Palatine High School National Honor Society induction? I see it here on the list, but I don't see anyone assigned to that. Is that
It would be up to a board member if they're available.
okay?
Yeah, because
I'll t-
the same thing with the Schaumburg
take
High
it.
School Honors Convocation.
I'll take the Honor Society at Palatine. I didn't know we didn't have anyone.
Okay.
April 24th at 7 p.m.
Okay, so Mr. McGowan,
Thank you.
and then you have Schaumburg High School Honors Convocation on April 25th.
Yes, I am scheduled for that.
There's a Schaumburg High School Academic Scholar Recognition. So you're doing both?
I am.
Okay. All right. Then that takes us to closed session. And the recommended action is that the board enter closed session to discuss minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, probable or imminent litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the public body, matter pertaining to an individual student, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representative. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bradley?
This is, do we want to go
Yes.
into closed session?
You want to go back to closed
We
session?
want to go back to closed
No,
session?
no, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
thought we were at unfinished business.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. No, absolutely not.
Ms. Cavill?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Cavill?
No.
Mr. Dombrowski?
No.
Mr. McGowan?
No.
Mr. Rosenblum?
No.
Mrs. Klimkowitz?
No, the motion fails. All right, then that takes us to retirement requests. And the recommended action is that the Board of Education accepts the retirement request of Richard Cortez effective May 2027, according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union, and deferring effective May 2027, according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. Ruben Hinojosa, effective May 2027, according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. Craig Kazmierek, effective May 2027, according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. Dawn Leach, effective May 2027, according to the master contract of the District 211 Teachers Union. And Linda Vank, effective August 2026, according to the master contract of the District 211 United Support Staff. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. The next item is that the Board of Education terminate the employment of Miss Asia Brown due to job abandonment. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Cavill,
Aye.
Mr. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Mr. Bradley,
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mrs. Klimkowitz.
Aye. All right, with that, and there is no other business to come before the board, then the board president declares the meeting of the Board of Education adjourned at 9:20 PM.